Let me ask you a question. What is your relationship with regret? Have you ever done something so significantly harmful that the regret still haunts you? Or was something done to you that was so deeply painful, you regret it ever happened, or you regret how you handled it, or you regret how you responded to it, and that still haunts you today? I think this is an important topic for many of us. It sure is for me, because I can tell you my regret list is very large. It's not that there's a lot of things on the list. It's that the things on the list are so significant, written in very bold ink. It reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies by Paul Thomas Anderson called Magnolia. Wow, that movie's a masterpiece. Now, this isn't a blanket recommendation. It's not for the faint of heart. Don't make this your movie for family viewing night this week. But there is this scene that captures what we're talking about, where a main character named Earl Partridge is dying of cancer. He's an older man. He's lived a long and largely selfish life. And as he knows he's nearing the end, the primary emotion he's experiencing is just pure regret. And he has a scene where he gives a monologue, a soliloquy about regret. Man, that scene haunts me to this day. It reminds me of what I've heard some theologians say, that one of the greatest tortures of hell, regardless of what your theory is about what hell is like, one of the greatest pains is the psychological torture of knowing that there is nothing you can do to become a better version of yourself. There is nothing you can do to make things right. There is now nothing you can do to redefine who you are. It's done. You are who you were for eternity. I think many of us get through every day by thinking that we'll be a better version of ourselves in the future. You know, today I might have done some of the things I said I shouldn't do, or I didn't do the things I thought I would do, but tomorrow I'll do better. But when all of that is taken away and you just know that there is no changing who you are moving into the future. There is no future. It's all done. That is the greatest pain of hell. And as I was watching this scene of Earl Partridge dying, I felt like I could see him entering hell before his death. And I thought, man, I get you. I've been there. A couple of years ago, someone asked me about some memories of when I was a pastor, and I burst into tears. I couldn't stop crying. And so they tried to shift gears and say, let's just focus on the positive memories. And I started crying even more because, as some of you would know, significant moral failure taints, it stains even the positive memories for you and for others around you. I mean, some sins have a huge blast radius. They create a lot of collateral damage. Collateral damage can include positive memories that have now become negatively experienced, or it can be other people in your circle. I had a friend recently that took me out for coffee, and he said, I've just got to ask you this question. Are we really friends? It hurt me just to hear him have to ask that. But he explained, listen, you went through a season of life where you were keeping a secret. You were telling a lie about something significant, and we were friends then, and you never told me. And so now I'm wondering if we really are friends. Wow, I see the hurt. I was able to explain that back then I was lying to everybody, including myself. I was in complete denial. But the fact he had to ask, it shows some of that collateral damage of significant moral failure. And at the center of that explosion going off of our significant moral failure that we've done or has been done to us is the haunting sense of permanence, that this action now defines us. I felt that, like I had nothing, like I was nothing. I was in hell. And if you've ever felt this, then hang with me, because I think this time is going to be important, because I can tell you that slowly something began to sink into my soul that began to create change from the inside out. And that is the power of, well, antidepressants, I'm sure. I'm sure they helped, but it was something more than that. It was the power of mercy. So I want to talk to you about my own experience with this power in ways that might be helpful for you today in this place of grace for those of us who need a fresh start and a second chance, which is really all of us, but only some of us know it. Welcome to Black Sheep Bible Study. This is part 2 of our 5-part series on mercy. We started last time looking at Jesus' most shocking command. This time, mercy as power over our past. Next time, the uniqueness of Jesus. Why can we only find this in the teaching of Jesus? Part 4, the mercy seat, our Indiana Jones special. And then part 5, what makes mercy so hard? Okay, today, mercy is power over our past. We're going to look at 3 things. First of all, what is mercy? Then, why is mercy so powerful? And third, how does mercy heal and help us? And we'll get practical by the end. All right, first of all, what is mercy? I want to approach this through the lens of time travel. What? Okay, stick with me here. Imagine that you had the power to time travel, to go back to that one significant thing, or maybe multiple significant things that you regret doing or that were done to you, and you had the power to change their influence on your future. Wouldn't you want to do that? And let me say, mercy is that power. Mercy gives us the freedom to live in the present in a way that's not dominated by the influence of our past. Mercy isn't denial about our past. In fact, mercy gives us the strength to face our failures with courage. Mercy gives us a sense of agency rather than futility with regards to what has been done to us or what we have done. Romans 2:4 says, God's kindness leads you to repentance. Mercy will help rescue us out of our denial as a coping mechanism and let us actually fully repent. Mercy is overcoming the power of the past with an even greater power in our present. Mercy tells us that the past does not define us. Rather, we are defined more by our future than our past. Where are we headed? Who is God creating us to be? We live in light of that rather than who we have been. In fact, according to mercy, the only thing in our past that matters is what happened on a cross 2,000 years ago. When talk about a blast radius of forgiveness for every wrongdoing radiated out through time and space, available to everyone. When embraced, mercy transmutes our regret into hope, into opportunity, even anticipation to see how is God going to bring good things out of bad things, which is what he always does according to Romans 8:28. For now, we can say that mercy is the opposite of karma. Karma says you get what you deserve. Mercy says, nope. I think rightly understood, karma is one of the most personally and societally devastating doctrines to ever come out of any religion. I remember having the privilege of journeying with someone who was dying of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. She was not only wrestling physically, but psychologically, and primarily because some friends had come into her life back in those days. People were really into this video series called The Secret and an accompanying book. And it was all about manifesting, about the law of attraction, about sending the right energy out into the universe so you can attract the right things to you. Of course, the dark side of that is that when something bad happens to you, that's because you've brought it about yourself. I mean, karma says what's going wrong in your life now is because of something you did in a past life. But this law of attraction says what's going wrong in your life now is because you've caused it in this life by sending out the wrong energy. And they told her, just change your thinking and then you'll be healed, because what's happening now is because of something you have brought upon yourself. I can't believe people still buy into this today. But mercy, coupled with grace, breaks that power. It interrupts and disrupts the entire karmic system. Grace says you're going to get what you don't deserve, and mercy says you're not going to get what you do deserve. And something else about mercy. Mercy is so powerful because it is tied closely to and is an expression of the strongest power in the universe, which is love, which leads us to point number 2, our main course. Why is mercy so powerful? Let's talk about the relationship between mercy and love. We're going to get a bit Bible nerdy here for a second, a bit geeky Greeky, so bear with me for a second. I think it'll be valuable. The Greek word in the New Testament manuscripts for mercy is eleos. All right, just park that for a moment and catch this. The Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, actually has 2 significant ancient versions, the original Hebrew and then a translation into Greek that was made before Jesus was born by a couple hundred years. It's called the Septuagint. And so Jewish scholars translated the Hebrew Bible into Greek because most people were speaking Greek in those days. There was this guy, Alexander the Great, who kind of swept through, and you know the story. So the Hebrew Bible gets translated into Greek, and when they came across the word for love, in fact, there's this Old Testament word for love, hesed, which is God's unconditional, compassionate, loyal love. It's a lot like agape in the New Testament. It's the love of covenant, sometimes translated steadfast love or loving kindness. So when the translators of the Septuagint translated hesed into the Greek, they didn't use the word agape, which you might expect. They used the word eleos, mercy. And today, many English translations of the Old Testament Hebrew take into account how the Septuagint translated words. For instance, Micah 6:8, he has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Or Hosea 6:6, where the Lord says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and acknowledgement of God rather than burnt offerings. One of the most irreligious verses in the Bible. And Jesus quotes this to the Pharisees when they are challenging him on some of his ethical choices. Why are you hanging out with sinners? Jesus says, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. So go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. For the religious judgmentalists who know how to fight for justice and judgment, but not forgiveness, Dr. Jesus gives them this prescription. Go back and learn, study mercy. And yes, Jesus uses eleos, or at least Matthew translating Jesus uses eleos rather than hesed or rather than agape. For Jesus, love and mercy are inextricably intertwined. One leads to the other, in fact, can be equated with the other. Why? Because in our fallen, messed up world, you can't keep a long-term love relationship, whether between spouses, friends, family members, or church members. You can't keep them alive without a lot of mercy. In our world, mercy is the name of long-term love. That's why the Apostle Peter says, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. That's mercy. The Apostle Paul says, love keeps no record of wrongs. Love is merciful. Why is mercy so powerful? Because God is love. Love is the source and sustaining power of the universe. And mercy is how love is expressed in an imperfect world. Lastly, our takeout. How does mercy heal and help us? A, B, C. A, mercy is how we recognize God's voice on an ongoing basis. James, the brother of Jesus, writes, the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Here we have it, how to recognize God's voice in the cacophony of religious zealotry all around us today. When you need wisdom, make sure you are listening to mercy-saturated saints. This then means that we should be cautious to give too much place to those voices around us, whether it's pastors or preachers, Christian leaders of organizations, or voices on YouTube that make their ministry all about condemnation and judgment. My goodness, I've seen a lot of those channels on YouTube where certain Christian ministries seem to make it their ministry to expose and condemn and participate in a call-out culture, when really I think Jesus invites us into something different, a call-in culture that is led by mercy. B, mercy is going to be how we collectively shine our light and show the gospel to the world around us. When Jesus said to his disciples, you are the light of the world, the you is plural and the light is singular. We, together, shine a light to the world around us. That means we need to be in proximity, and we need a lot of mercy in order to sustain that. The night before Jesus was crucified, he prays for his future church. He starts by praying for his current disciples, but then he moves on from that prayer to say this. He says, I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. That's us. That all of them may be one. He goes on to say, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. If we want the world to know that Jesus is actually sent by God, it will be the power of mercy expressed to one another that will first of all create a sociological miracle that people can witness here and now and say, what's the source of that kind of mercy leading to unity? Hey, Christian ministries that focus on justice are doing a good thing. They're just not doing a gospel thing. Tim Keller, whose writings and heart I love, puts it this way. The main way Christians can be a resource to the broader culture is by restoring the church to being a well-known community of forgiveness and reconciliation. Yes, this is in line with what Jesus makes the brand of our Christian identity. Near the end of his life, he tells his disciples, a new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. He's already taught them to love their enemy, love their neighbor, love God. But now he says, love one another. I've left the hardest to last. By this, he says, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Hey, church, how are we doing with that? Yeah, I can't blame people for not wanting to buy in when they see our history and our present. C, and finally, mercy is how we overcome the negative influence of the world around us, online and in person. There are a lot of voices calling us down an alternative path today, And mercy is how we push those aside and we follow Jesus together. For both those of us who fail and those of us who judge those who fail, mercy. In a time of performative moral outrage, mercy is our way to peace. In our time of severe division, mercy is how we build bridges. In a time of canceling people who fail, mercy is how we reconcile and restore. In a time of extreme litigation culture, mercy is how we restore our sanity and we model for the world a new way of being a society. It's called the kingdom of heaven, here and now. And Jesus invites us to be ambassadors for the kingdom of heaven on earth, inviting others to come and join us in being a new kind of human together. This world needs more Jesus because this world needs more mercy. Mercy is not a cop-out. Mercy is the hard truth the world needs, and it needs the church to start modeling it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I look forward to seeing you next time as we continue our series on mercy on Black Sheep Bible Study.